I'm Hannah.
I'm Greg.
And I'm Natalie. Welcome to the Stride Sisters podcast. On today's episode, we're joined by Greg from the Rise and Run podcast. Greg's not only a runDisney regular, he's also the editing mastermind behind one of the community's most beloved shows. We're chatting about his running journey, behind-the-scenes podcast magic, Disney favorites, and more. So, lace up your shoes and step into the magic with us.
Come on, Natalie, think of something funny.
So, I really want to know lawn care.
Lawn pod!
Lawn posting!
Greg, how's your lawn?
I mean, it's better than it has been. I will say we dumped one single small bag of grass seed in the really dead patch, and that actually worked because unlike last year, we're not going through a 3-month drought. So it's sad that my lawn looks better the year I don't pay for a service to come out and spray fertilizer and overseed and aerate. So I think maybe I can. I'm not like Natalie. I'm not that skilled, and I don't have that well of a green thumb. But whatever we're doing now is working.
Natalie and I are relying on the knowledge of our ancestors, aka our moms.
Yes. Yes. My last fertilization, I was a little insecure last weekend because I was like, I just fertilized and I feel like my lawn looks worse, but it's now rained enough this week that she's looking green, she's looking thick.
I was green and thick once, and that's when I played Shrek in a community theater. First and only time I was ever green and thick.
I aspire to be there someday.
My lawn's just sad. I don't think we've mowed in 2 weeks because it has, as aforementioned, hasn't been a drought and this summer, and so it's been wet and hot and a various combination of those things that have prevented pretty much any lawn care. Although we have fire ants here, and Ben has been attempting to take care of the fire ant problem, but I think every time he tries to go spray, they just burrow and find a new place, and then a new hill pops up. So he might have to have real pest control come look at that. But he got bit by a fire ant the other week, and he still has the bump on his finger from it. So don't get bit by a fire ant.
No bueno.
I don't think I've been bit by fire ants since I was a kid, and I slid down the slide at either my cousin's or a neighbor's someone's house on their swing set and landed right in a pile of them. And, I've avoided it ever since.
It takes
I'm winning, really.
One mistake like that.
All right, let's talk some training. Greg, would you like to go first?
Oh, it would be my pleasure. Training is going very well. I just came off of the 12-hour relay event in Pensacola, New Jersey, Loopy Looper, which based on the show notes that I got prior to this recording, I guess we're going to talk a little bit about here in a little bit. But that was a ton of fun. Clocked in just under 19 miles last Saturday, spaced out over the course of 12 hours, so that wasn't continuous. So I think I got a magic mile or a magic half mile, depending on how hot it is this weekend, and then it's all hills and drills from here until Bird in Hand in a couple of weeks.
Ooh. You sound much more prepared than I have a half marathon like this weekend. Yeah, this weekend and nope, not ready at all. But it's alien themed. So I've told myself that it doesn't matter because we're just going for fun. It's a night race. I plan on wearing glow in the dark glitter and alien temporary tattoos that I made for myself and just having fun. So
You'll probably get a PR because if you go into it with no pressure, it's going to be very unexpected.
if I get a PR, we should all be concerned. Because my training has been incredibly rocky and minimal as of late, and life has just been super chaotic, but it's okay. What about you, Natalie?
Things are thinging. We are a single digit number of weeks to the Chicago Marathon.
That's
Oh
so
my
exciting.
goodness.
That's
I have like adjacent anxiety, I don't know, sympathetic for you.
I'm a sympathetic puker. Yeah. So
I think I'm pregnant.
things are going pretty well. I have been hitting my speed workouts where appropriate and running a lot, I guess, to say the least. I said that July was a hundo. I think I'm well on my way to another hundo in August, and that is foul. I have to just say, like, I usually like November, December, are the only maybe January with the marathon. Are the months I hit hundreds in, and no, like this is kind of gross for this early in the year.
Well, in the words of a famous podcaster that I know, in Run Fit Mama we trust.
In Run Fit Mama we
Yes.
trust, truly. But yeah, no, I think my next long run will be 16 this upcoming weekend. So it's kind of wild because I've gotten to that place of, oh, it's just like 6 or 7 that I did this past weekend when you guys are hearing it. Like, yeah, it's just like, it's just 6, 7. Gross. Gross. My boss will ask me what I did this morning. He's like, oh, yeah, just 6. Just? Excuse me? I do not just for anybody else. It's just that like we're in that stage of marathon training of like,
Of course.
yeah, it's single digits. We're good. Ay, ay, ay.
So proud. You're gonna crush it.
I'm feeling better and better. My judgy Tamagotchi. I guess I'm the Tamagotchi to keep alive, and this is just my watch is the thing I use for it. But it's lowering its prediction of my finish time. It's still like insulting, but at least it's getting a little better. It's I don't know, I'm not putting too much stock in it because I'm putting more stock in obviously the speed work I'm doing, but yeah.
Everyone get ready. What's the official countdown? How many weeks? 9 then?
Yeah, it'll be 9.
Oh, so exciting.
That
Well,
is.
on a less exciting note, depending on your perspective, it's kind of exciting for us. We have 2 Blister Brigade submissions this week.
Woo!
Jamie received a new blister. I'm going to give you the deets and then we'll go over the backstory and the name. So, she got a new blister on the back of her heel from a brand new pair of Brooks. This is no shade to Brooks. Everyone has to find their perfect shoe. But she's been on the hunt for a perfect shoe ever since her beloved Hoka's betrayed her. Hoka, apparently you changed your footbed, so how dare you? And unfortunately, these ones didn't work out, so it's possible there are more on the way as she continues her search. We wish you luck, Jamie. So this is what I've come up with. In true Disney fashion, Lady Tremaine. This is the name for your blister. But like once you hear the backstory, I think it'll really. All right. Lady T showed up uninvited during Jamie's very first run in her new Brooks, a silent saboteur, riding the heel collar like it's a throne. Bitter and clingy after getting kicked out of Jamie's beautiful Hokas, her true home. Lady T is determined to make her presence known with every step. She thrives on instability and change, so as Jamie searches for her next perfect shoe, she lurks in the shadows, hoping to bring along some equally annoying friends, or should I say stepsisters. She's petty, persistent, and peels like it's her full-time job. Welcome, Lady Tremaine, to the Blister Brigade! Can you tell that I've considered being like an audiobook person before? I don't think I could be a real voice actor, but this is my chance to pretend.
That is incredible. Because now I'm just
We work
imagining
hard on these.
Lucifer in the shadows, like the next one, like, you know, when you're like getting a blister, but you don't like quite have it yet, and you're like hoping you can fend it off. Like that's Lucifer right now, and I hope that Lucifer just stays in the shadows for her sake. But
she is going. We have talked to Jamie. She's going to the running store again this weekend. It's a little far from her house, so she can't make it out as often as she would like. And she tends to have a wider foot, so it's hard. They don't always stock, the wider shoes or the narrow shoes in store. You usually have to special order them.
It's the bane of my existence. Yep.
So, I'm keeping my fingers crossed, but I think she might be in for a long road ahead. Hopefully they have something. And this is my personal plea to Hoka to please stop changing, and all brands really stop changing your shoes. All right. And you alluded, but Brandy also ran Loopy Looper this, I don't know, however far back that was. I can't do the math right now. And she sustained a blister courtesy of the Loopy Looper. She says it's her right pinky toe, and apparently it popped immediately and just like kept on going and bringing her pain the whole way. But she said she refused to wimp out in front of Jack because she's a beast.
That she is.
So, high praise. And you've got some serious grip, Brandy. Wow.
The hysterical thing, though, is I was with Brandy this entire event for 12 hours. And
she never mentioned it?
And she never mentioned that she had a blister on her pinky.
Crazy. If I had a blister, that's all I'd be telling people.
Correct.
Even people who aren't there. Like when I got Bartholomew, I called Natalie on the phone.
When he resurged.
Oh.
This started because of Chester, my 2023 dopey blister. May he rip in peace. I had to pop
or
him.
Not.
Well, no, see, I had to pop him. Like, that's how bad it was because I couldn't get a shoe on anymore. I couldn't get a shoe on, and I was in the Midwest for the winter. So I had to put him out of his misery. Or my misery, TBH.
Well, I have two options, so we can vote. There's 3 of us, so 2 out of 3 should win. I've got Pinky Minaj, and as a more, Disney, we've got Penelope Von Schmoo.
Ooh.
They have different backstories, so do you want to hear the backstories before we vote, or do you want to be...
I think I have a decision.
Yeah, me too.
You do?
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
I gotta go Pinky Minaj.
Agreed.
Okay.
It's too good. It's too apropos to ignore.
It's a good one. I kind of thought you guys might go for the Disney reference, but...
No,
Okay.
not in this case, no.
All right, ready? Pinky Minaj. She made her debut during Loopy Looper and popped off, literally. The moment the loop began, Pinky Minaj doesn't wait for mile 10. She enters loud, chaotic, and with zero chill. As Brandy kept running, Pinky tore through her skin like her encore performance. But did Brandy quit? Nope. Not even in front of Jack, because Pinky may think she's the star of the show, but Brandy's the real beast out there. Loops on loops on loops. Pain be dang. It's supposed to be another word, but
That's beautiful.
Sorority snaps. ASMR.
Thank you. Brandy, welcome to the Blister Brigade. And I guess Pinky Minaj, welcome to the Blister Brigade. We're happy to have you. And sorry.
Politely, I hope you go away nice and soon.
Alrighty. Let's get those race countdowns out of the way. We have 23 days until Disneyland Halloween Half Marathon Weekend 2025. For training, you've got 30 minutes if you're not running the challenge and 30 to 45 minutes if you are on Tuesday and Thursday. For the 5K, your long run is 40 minutes, 10K is 30 minutes. Beginner half is 3 miles, and experienced half and challenge are both 4 miles. We have 72 days until Wine and Dine Half Marathon Weekend 2025. Your Tuesday, Thursday routine remains the same. If you're on the 5K, you've got 1.5 miles. Welcome to the party. This is your first long run. Woo! 10K, 3.5 miles. Beginner half, experienced half, 8 miles. And challenge, you have a 1 mile walk on Saturday and an 8 mile on Sunday.
So that's the first double up for the wine and diners, it looks like.
Yes, it is. Yes.
I've got a hot take about this.
Ooh.
Oh.
That I feel like if you're doing Dopey, you should do like the smaller back-to-backs, like how Wine and Dine does like 1 and 8 or 2 and 9.5 or 3 and 11. I feel like when you're training for Dopey or Goofy, you should do those too because it's not as violent as 4 and 13.
Interesting. Okay.
I did that as an accident because the first time I did Wine and Dine, I got a Goofy bib like in the middle of training. So I kind of like accidentally did it. And I'm like, oh, this isn't so bad to jump into these other back-to-backs. It was an accident that it worked out that way. And I'm like, no, I should always do it that way because then it's like getting yourself used to the 2 days. And then it's an easier transition. For now.
I don't think it's a terrible idea. I don't think there's any, adding an easy 1 mile walk in isn't so bad.
I mean, the only theory that I could come up with is the Galloway team wants you to build a little bit more of a base before attempting that, but I'm not Jeff and I'm not Coach Twiggs, so I'm gonna
we're not
gonna
professionals.
zip my mouth.
we say regularly we're not professionals. Please ask professionals.
True.
We'd like to reiterate that. Speak to a trainer, physical therapist, medical professional, someone with more qualifications than us. All right, we have 148 days until Marathon Weekend 2026. 30 minutes for marathon training, 30 to 45 minutes for Goofy, and 45 minutes for Dopey. 5K, 10K half, you're not there yet. But if you're running Wine and Dine as well, you'll be doing that and you'll jump in for marathon 10-week training later. Marathon, easy and beginner are actually different this week for the first time ever in this training cycle. Beginner has 3 miles and experienced has 4 miles. Goofy and Dopey also have 3 miles. So the experienced runners are just showing off, really.
That they are.
We have 170 days until Disneyland Half Marathon Weekend 2026. 198 days until Princess Half Marathon 2026.
We're
Your
under
proof of time-
200!
Ah!
I'm not actually going to bang the table for your eardrums, but I'm going to yell.
I'm sure my was loud enough for them, but it's very exciting. I can't wait. Your proof of time deadline is September 1st, 2025. So you've got a little bit longer. We have 247 days until Springtime Surprise Weekend 2026. Shirt deadline is September 22nd, 2025. And your proof of time deadline is January 5th, 2026. Natalie, do you have some Disney news for us?
Oh, I sure do. I think I would be remiss if we did not bring up Run Disney related news that we got this week for the virtual 12 Ks of Christmas. The number, and I'm sure the number of tags I got. Love y'all. The number of people who've sent me the Muppets. Love y'all. And I'm sure Greg can relate. But
Yes.
we Muppet. We rise.
It's time to start the music.
Oh, it's time to light the lights. I stand by, for the most part, that virtuals at this point are not really for me because I have, the box is now even in the closet of my medals that haven't gotten hung yet. But this might change my mind because it's Muppets and their ornaments. So, torn, conflicted. What about you, Greg?
No, I'm very conflicted. I said the same thing on Rise and Run this past week, where I'm beyond thrilled that they are, embracing the Muppet brand more and more and more. I think that's super exciting. The tough pill for me to swallow is the $267, but at the same time, the Walt Disney Company is a for-profit company that has to abide by shareholders. So I get it. The part that, for as much excitement that I have, the part that bothers me the most is you have the Muppets. You want to celebrate their 70th anniversary. You also want to celebrate Christmas. It would be really cool if the Muppets had a Christmas movie. Oh, wait, they do, and not one single medal. Okay, I guess you could give them a little bit of credit with Kermit and Robin, because that was the first photo I saw. So I'm like, all right, here we go. Bob Cratchit and Tiny Tim, and, maybe a medal that maybe says on the bottom, and Tiny Tim did not die. But then when I click on the second picture and it's Gonzo and Camilla and not Gonzo and Rizzo, like, you had an opportunity to make an amazing medal that said light the lamp, not the rat, and yet you put Camilla on it. Like, what is going on? You Run Disney, you were this close. I step off my soapbox.
Oh no, I am fully on board with that. Because at first it wasn't something that even crossed my mind, and then the more I thought about it, I'm like, no cheeses for us Mises. Like, what are we doing?
Yes.
Like Statler and Waldorf as the goat. Like, duh.
Yeah.
It's okay. We as a community, I'm sure we'll sell this out, and it's okay. We're just going to encourage more. We went to town for the Wine and Dine 5K last year, so I have faith in us as a community to show them, like, yes, we need the Muppets. I made a trip from Nebraska last minute to go make one last pilgrimage to the Muppets.
Extremely jealous.
And I was
talking, because I consider the exact same thing.
It just all kind of fell together so perfectly. And then talking to Heather Henson, she was asking people like, oh, where are you coming, or where'd you come from? And I explained, actually, we have a Nebraska connection there. And she's like, wow, they're like the number of people who are coming from all over to like say like goodbye. It was incredible. But
I still have a week to mentally battle with myself. But at the same time, last year for Springtime Surprise, I like mentally battled with myself because I was like, I love Baymax. I want to run the challenge, but I didn't understand, or not that I didn't understand, the Incredibles for the 10 miler didn't excite me, but yet Groot and Herc did. So so here I am thinking, okay, am I going to spend, just shy of $300 for the 5K and the 10K, or to get the Baymax medal and to get the Baymax shirt, I'm gonna have to spend $500 and run an Incredibles race. So, and I'm like, oh, maybe I won't do it. But then I dropped the $500. So I mean, it's probably gonna go that way too. But I'll have to consult my other financial consultants that live in this house, and then we'll make a decision. Because maybe it's that Twinnings tea that will push me over the edge to go ahead and buy it.
Yeah, that and the beanie. I don't know.
And the beanie, yes.
And the beanie.
I'm so happy for y'all. The Muppets still scare me just a little bit.
You know what? You are the second person that I've ever met that has that situation, because I was hanging out with a friend. I think this was Wine and Dine last year. We were hanging out in Hollywood Studios, and myself and her husband, we were making our way to Muppet Vision, and she just like stopped dead in her tracks, and she's like, I'll see you guys later. And I'm like, why aren't you coming? She goes, oh no, the Muppets terrify me. And I'm like, what? But to each their own.
Yeah. I'm braver now as an adult. I have seen Muppet Vision, and I don't think I was like scared enough as a kid to tell people like, or like my parents like, no, I'm not doing that or anything. But they always just, I don't think I'm a puppet person, and I think that was the problem as a child. Now I
Then my
appreciate it.
advice to you is never see a production of Avenue live on stage, because
Okay.
that could set you over the edge.
I will keep that in mind. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, it's just more that I was like very afraid of illuminations when I was little, and
What?
it was because the globe coming apart scared me and the loud noises. And like I appreciated it more as I got older, and like the
All right,
music
thank
behind is
God.
beautiful. But I used to be very scared of illuminations. Like
I'm learning so much during this recording that this is incredible.
this is a big lore drop, man. Just sometimes I get going and there's just a lore drop here. What's your Disney related fear?
Oh,
Besides-
gosh. Oh, I don't even know if I have one, to be honest. I think I'm just more fearful that they'll take away more things that I love. I mean, I'm already having enough trouble processing Muppet Vision, but I don't know. I'll have to think on that one a little bit.
I thought you were going to go right for the
We'll
camels.
swing around.
At
Okay.
Magic Carpet off of Aladdin.
Oh, okay, yes, okay. That's more, I'm not scared of it. It just it makes me angry and gives me PTSD. Those feelings are very different.
A little bit of column A, a little bit of column B.
Mhm. My other super iconic Disney fear is not anymore. I've grown out of it, but I was absolutely terrified of Tower of Terror. I was a very large child, very tall for my age, and my parents took me on it when I was very little. I don't know how old, but pretty little. And I had nightmares about it for years. And then the second time we went, whole family waited in line. I'm basically having a panic attack the whole way. And the cast members, of course, are like, it's okay. You can come with us. You don't have to ride. You can go in the normal elevator. But I was I was so worked up and convinced that they were actually trying to trick me, that it really was the ride. I was like clawing. I was being very dramatic. I was like, I don't know. I don't trust this. Are you sure this is a real elevator? It was. It was a normal elevator, very bright white.
To be fair,
But
that's kind of
yeah.
diabolical. Like, you're getting on a service elevator, but then you're going to get on another service elevator. It's kind of diabolical.
Right? Why couldn't it be stairs? I understand the need for an elevator for accessibility and all of that, but like, I want the stairs. They have to exist somewhere for fire code. Let me take the stairs.
I just have this visual now of a very small Hannah and Natalie, and you're at World Showcase Lagoon, and the globe is opening, and rising from the globe is Fozzie Bear, and the both of you just losing your crap.
I'm going away forever.
Forever?
Can you get me a sandwich?
And now Illuminations lives in Pittsburgh.
Mr. Natalie, speaking of chicken exits, he took the chicken exit on the Haunted Mansion when he was a child because he told me this as if it was an in-show exit. I was explaining in-show exits I've had, and he's like, "Oh, I got that on Haunted Mansion." I'm like, "What? That's so cool." He's like, "Yeah, before I got on the Doom buggy, I walked out with my parents." Like, that's the chicken exit. So I was very proud of him on our honeymoon that he made it through the whole ride. No chicken exit there. But I don't have an elegant transition, but this is Magic Kingdom related.
Hey, chickens, birds, same.
Sure, we'll go with that. The Beacon Barrel is opening on August 29th. Very exciting. 2 days from now, on August 14th, you will be able to make reservations. And there's definitely a bunch of cool if you haven't checked out the menu, definitely do so, because there's cool themed dishes like the Kraken's Catch and signature cocktails. So a drinking location in the Magic Kingdom, everybody. That sounded worse than it meant to, but whatever. It's fine. But you can can't get alcohol some places in the Magic Kingdom. But I'm excited for a little pub right there in Adventureland.
I just can't wait for every influencer to be there the first day, and just the sheer number of people on my Instagram feed or YouTube feed sipping a drink that's got a octopus tentacle coming out of it.
Yeah, yeah, that will be interesting. That'll be interesting.
I mean, I want to know where Disney's getting those in bulk, because when I was an exchange student in Japan when I was in high school, what I would love is you went to the grocery store every single day. So it's not like, oh, I'm going to go down to the supermarket and grab everything for the week. So I remember getting there the one time and being in the seafood section, just like how we would get like, packets of ground beef or shrimp or whatever. I turned the corner the one time and there is just one really long octopus tentacle, and just on a styrofoam tray wrapped up in cellophane that you could scan and go and use at your pleasure. So I want to see the food and beverage line item that's got, hey, get me 10,000 octopus tentacles stat.
I want that invoice so bad.
For a garnish, that's a lot of effort.
It is.
I don't think I would pick it.
Not exactly on the East Coast, but on the West Coast, it was announced that Big Thunder Mountain is going to go under refurb on September 2nd. So we are Big Thunder Mountainless in North America.
How dare
We're
they?
going to be.
Truly rude.
Yeah, I was a little brutal, but it's fine. They gotta obviously take stuff down at some point, but it was like, oh, ouch, because I was like, yeah, I'm so excited to go out and ride Big Thunder Mountain, and then it's okay, I can look at him from afar. But there's one other piece of Disney adjacent news, but I think Hannah, you should.
Well, I am very thrilled to announce the launch of the Startline company. I mentioned it, I don't know, maybe like a month back or something, loosely. It is your new go-to for running inspired temporary tattoos designed to celebrate courage, fun, and every step of your journey. Whether you're towing the start line of your first 5K or your next marathon, our tattoos are made to inspire, empower, and add a little bit of magic to race day. If you're looking for something special for an upcoming race, especially Disney Halloween runners, we've got you covered with theme designs to bring the spooky season spirit to your stride. Stay tuned for more exclusive drops and custom creations as the season progresses. I have an iPad full of different designs and such already, all the way out till I think Disneyland half I'm working on, and a lot of seasonal stuff that will come out, as well as like a core collection that will be there most always. So if you have anything, any requests you don't see and you want like a certain mantra or whatever, just like hit me up. I'm happy to look into it.
Well, congratulations, Hannah. That's awesome.
Thank you. I'm very excited. If you go to the website, we're launching this evening at 7 p.m. So it'll open up. There will not be a password anymore on there. So thanks, guys. And if you need the link or anything, everything is linked on Instagram. The Stride, not the Stride Sisters. That's this podcast. Woo! The Startline Co. That's it. Everywhere.
Woohoo! All right, I'm ready for some fun facts.
We had a lot. Did you narrow it down?
Yes, I did. On August 12th in 1919, Disney legend Dodie Roberts is born in, drumroll please, Plainview, Nebraska.
I knew you would like that one. I knew it.
Listen, I might have only lived here for not that long, but when Nebraska comes up into like the Disney world, it's just a great time. It's perfect. But the significance of her, if you're not familiar with her, is that she created colors and mixed paints for the Disney Studios and was a supervisor in the paint lab. And Disney keeps their cell paint colors secret. And like mixers only get like a little bit of information. So like we're talking like PwC at the Oscars information where they are like the people who letter them, where it's like they write every single one and they don't know who actually wins the Oscars. She mixed paints for pretty much every Disney animated projects in her 42 years there, which is incredible. What a legend, just from a small town in Nebraska. Also on this day in 1929, Walt Disney's granted a trademark for the use of the image of Mickey Mouse in his motion pictures. And then one final one for today. The Disney Magic in 2000 embarks on its first 7-day cruise. The luxury liner has previously offered only 3 and 4 days.
That was my
What a step
first.
up.
That was my first Disney cruise on the Magic.
Really?
Oh, I thought you were gonna say specifically that 7-day one.
Oh no. I mean, I was. I think I went on it in 90. It was either 98 or 99, and I was a wee little lad. But yeah, I didn't realize it took them so long to move up to 7 days. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I still have yet to go. So we are not alone. So obviously, if you haven't picked up on the fact that we have another guest with us. So who are you?
Natalie!
So, see, it gets such a good reaction out of people that like I love to drop the who are you? Who am I, Hedwig?
Who's your daddy and what does he do?
Greg, I had like a little intro for you, but you know, I think this is funnier.
Okay.
Unless you want to hear my podcasty audiobook voice say the words tech wizard. Ooh.
Sure, go for it.
Greg is not just a voice behind the mic, he's a tech wizard behind the curtain of Rise and Run. He brings magic to life week after week. Let's dive into how you make that happen. That was my semi-elegant transition that I worked up, but Natalie's way funnier than me. But seriously, Greg, who are you?
Who am I? I'm a lot of things. I'm a loving husband. I am a loving father. But you know, I think probably the reason why I'm here today is because I'm part of a wonderful community and podcast over at Rise and Run. At something that has literally upended my life for the past 3.5 years, and I would not have it any other way. And that journey has led me to the two of you here today, and it's really, really exciting stuff.
Yeah. Run Disney and the podcast are definitely the reason we know each other, but I would
Yes.
like to say you're here because we're friends.
Oh,
so.
of course, absolutely.
I really like that you started out with your loving father and husband and all of that. It's something I've been working on a lot in my life, is when I talk to people and ask like about them when I meet a new person, like the gut reaction is to tell people like, oh, I'm an engineer or whatever. Like they condition you in college, you get to answer what your major is.
Yep.
And then when you get out of school, it's like, this is my job. I am my job. That is not true, people. You are not your job.
Correct. You're so much more than that.
Yes. So I really liked that.
Thanks.
What is like podcasting, it does take up time. Like editing takes a lot of time, and that's what we're going to focus on a lot of today, is like the behind the scenes of how podcast gets made. But like, what do you do outside of podcasting time, because it's not your whole life?
No, but shockingly enough, it takes up a lot of it. But,
It does.
No, I mean, a typical day for me is, just again, making the priority of, being the husband and the father, and, getting my kiddo either to her camp or, getting her on the school bus, because, thankfully I work for a company that for the most part I can be work from home. So, I love the fact that I get to put my daughter on the bus and get her off the bus each and every single day. But what also excites me is that I don't have to pay for before and after school care. And so my pocketbook is very thankful for that too. But in, going to what you were saying, Hannah, about, what, you talk about when you're an adult, in terms of my career, I know we're going to talk about editing and post-production. That's actually my job, full time. So I went to school at Temple University in Philadelphia for broadcasting, telecommunications, and mass media. I always thought I was going to work in news. Like I pictured myself as a technical director, with just all those screens in front of me, and then the console with 800 buttons or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then I took a class in editing. And that's where I found my passion. Like, actually, I was just telling my daughter about this the other day. She was like, well, she's like, Daddy, what kind of tests did you have and stuff like that? I said, well, in this particular class, my midterm was I had to make a music video. So we watched the movie The Warriors, which is a cult classic, which I'm excited, not to go on a quick tangent here, but
We love tangents.
that's the latest project that Lin-Manuel Miranda is working on for Broadway. He's working on a musical version of that movie, and you can actually listen to the concept album on Spotify, and it's got a lot of the Hamilton people in it. And let me tell you,
so Greg coded.
now, Grant, I don't know if the kids still use this phrase, but it slaps. But anyway, so that was my midterm, and then my final was we got to pick from 4 to 5 different movies, and we had to make a movie trailer based on that, and we were not allowed to look at the trailer that was actually for that film at the time. So I did the Kevin Costner and Sean Connery movie, The Untouchables. So the mobster movie in Chicago, and made a whole movie trailer out of that. So it's a hell of a lot more fun than studying for a test or anything like that. And then that morphed into, I got an internship with a production company that if you can remember back to the late 90s and the early aughts, when TLC reigned supreme with Baby Story and Wedding Story and Trading Spaces and stuff like that.
Trading Spaces.
Oh, Hannah, I'm about ready to blow your mind here.
Okay.
I was a post-production intern, and I had such a fabulous internship that they hired me right out of the internship. So I was an assistant editor on the final season of Trading Spaces.
Oh my goodness.
So I actually made my credited television debut as a rising college senior.
Greg!
My mother hosted a watch party. And
of course she did.
And I'm like, Mom, my name's only going to be up there for a whopping second and a half. But she took a photo of the screen and sent it to all of her friends and stuff like that. I can't go into too details because who knows if anyone's going to sue me. But the one time, if you remember, do you remember the little designer Frank, the one that everybody loved, the cute old guy Frank? Yeah, he yelled at me the one time on the phone. That was fun. I had to fill in for the receptionist, and he had a very bad cell phone connection. I couldn't understand the word he was saying, and he just started yelling at me. So that was fun. So that ruined. Now here's the part where I'm gonna ruin television for you, Hannah. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
What was the shtick of that show? How many days was the room transformed in?
I mean, that was a long time ago, wasn't it? Like a day or a weekend or something? It was fast.
It was a weekend. Yeah, a 2-day weekend.
Yeah.
3
yeah,
days.
I know it. Oh, I was going to say it. There's no way.
There was always a days. So whenever I had the footage, it was always labeled by day. So there was always day 0 and then 1 and 2. And a little, behind the scenes magic here. They have to wear the same clothing the entire shoot. So that way, if you splice something from day 2 and put it before
Mhm.
day 1, you have a continuity edit and such like
Yeah.
that. So,
This is one of my guilty pleasures, Greg. Actually, there's someone who on YouTube, she makes a bunch of videos about the like reality TV industry and like how those shows get made and like sort of spills all the dirty little editing secrets of like why they do all of that stuff.
yep.
So I still love reality television. It's terrible, but I love it. And but now I can't unknow those things. So when I see like B-roll and I'm listening to like voiceover, I'm like, where's the splice? Where
Yep.
is it?
Yeah, we in the biz call that frankenbiting.
Yes.
Yeah, so I ruin like The
I
Bachelor
was gonna say The Bachelor.
and like Love is Blind. I have ruined those shows for my wife because all of a sudden you hear the person talking, but then they cut to the reverse shot and then it goes back really, really quick. Why do you think that happens?
Because they didn't say those words at that time and they took it from somewhere else.
Exactly.
They might not have even said those words in that order. They might be random words. They made
Correct.
up a sentence.
Absolutely, absolutely. But unfortunately, I don't edit that fun stuff anymore. So I work for a medical publishing company. So I do a lot of medical videos, a lot of optometry, ophthalmology, dermatology, aesthetics. So again, do I wish I was working on TV shows like I did in college? Sure, but at the same time, it pays the bills.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of my focus during the day. Also edit a lot of medical podcasts as well too. So
Ooh.
there'll be some times where I'll go on a in terms of the rise and run schedule. I'll spend all day editing a podcast about retinal diseases, and then I'll transition to editing rise and run, and it's a journey. What can I say? But then when I do have some free time outside of exercising, I love cooking, and I married the perfect woman because I love to cook and she tolerates doing the dishes, and I hate doing the dishes. Just like I love grocery shopping because I always wanted to be a contestant on Supermarket Sweep when I was a kid, but I hate putting away groceries, and my wife is totally fine with that. So it all works out. And then usually, pretty much end the day sitting on the couch watching sports of some sort, or if there's nothing worthwhile on TV, you just throw open YouTube and learn about the next Disney related vacation that I want to go on or something like that.
We watch a lot of that content as well. It's that camping videos, like ASMR camping videos where they don't talk at all. And the history, it's like history of Egypt about mummies. That's the mix.
That's why YouTube is beautiful. You can get all of that and a bag of chips.
Exactly. I've absolutely destroyed Mr. Natalie's algorithm. But now he accepts it. And now he refers to the Mammoth Club as Mike and Molly, and he's finally learning Alan's name. He's like, that's a show, isn't it? I'm like, it's Alan. And he'll see Alan go, oh, that's Alan. He's like, no, but can you put on Mike and Molly? I'm like, yes, we can put on Mike and Molly. We haven't even tried to introduce Max yet because that's a little too confusing for him. But no, it's Mike and Molly. But I've destroyed his YouTube algorithm, but he accepts his mouse leader. I have to say, Greg, do you think you or the actors on Grey's Anatomy know more about medical terminology? Like, who would win in a fight there? Like, who would win the Jeopardy?
See, the thing is, I never really watched Grey's Anatomy, but I would have to say, and granted, I've always joked with my coworkers about this, that I feel like by the time I leave this job or retire or something like that, I should be able to do someone's cataract surgery. So it's very quick. I mean, these docs are really impressive. They like pump out 50 surgeries in a day. So like I've been in enough ORs shooting this stuff and then editing and that's my favorite part is my wife will come home from work or my kiddo will come home from school and I just have a big bloody eyeball on my screen and they immediately run out of the room. I'm not going to go into the full phraseology that was used in this one particular instance, but when I was with that job, when I was working on Trading Spaces, I also worked on a show called Deliver Me. It used to be on the Discovery Network. It was essentially a more like raw version of a baby story. And as the low man on the totem pole, I was the one that got to deal with the raw footage.
Oh.
Yeah. So lots of yelling, lots of screaming, lots of stuff.
Gore.
And you learn what is FCC appropriate and what is not.
The tiny little blur box there.
I learned what's legal to blur and what not to blur. Yeah.
Fun.
I apologize, listeners. If you've tuned out by now, I am so sorry. And please listen to the rest of this episode with my wonderful friends.
No, this is great because we're talking about the making of things, and now we've just gone full circle.
Maybe on like a less potentially gross. I think it's fascinating, but gross topic. Let's talk about your running journey, like how you got into running, how that led to the podcast.
Yeah,
Let's
absolutely.
give people a little bit of background. I
Sure.
highly doubt that people know us and don't know you, but like
Well, I promise that has nothing to do with giving birth or interior design shows or anything like that. So, essentially what it turned into is my wife and I got engaged, and like most people, they want to look great on their wedding day, and they want to be able to lose weight and such. And I don't know, I just had this crazy idea. Let's just go running. I had a pair of tennis shoes, and I went out and I bought compression sleeves because thanks to 9 years of marching band, I have absolutely massive calves that will just not go away and tighten up all the time. So my wife hated it. I think she quit after like 4 or 5 runs, and just there was, for some reason, it just stuck with me, and I was shocked that it did because I remember in school, elementary and middle school, and actually probably through high school too. There was that Arnold Schwarzenegger America's physical fitness test or something like that, and you had to, how many sit-ups can you do and how many chin-ups can you do, and that's going to dictate, and that's going to dictate how healthy you're going to be for the rest of your life and stuff like that. Just BS stuff now that when you really think about it. But one of those things was how quickly could you run a mile, and I remember those days for PE class, I would be mortified. And it's funny, to steal one of Jack's phrases, if I could hop in my Mandalorian and go back to those days and tell younger Greg, oh yeah, by the time you're in your late 30s, you're gonna have run 6 marathons and be part of a weekly podcast that talks about running, I would have laughed in your face. But so just really got into that, and then I slowly started signing up for races. I did my first ever race was a 10K that I did as part of the Gift of Life program here in Philadelphia, a wonderful organ donation and transplant organization that's near and dear to my heart, because after my mom unexpectedly passed from a stroke, she was an organ donor, and found out that even though we couldn't use a lot of her organs, we could at least donate her body to science, or even use corneas and stuff like that. So even though we've never gotten the phone call that something has been donated to somebody else, that organization has always played a massive role in my life. So they do a 5K and a 10K every year. So I did that as my first run. Really liked that, and then I upped the ante to a half marathon, and I did. It's no longer around, but the Rock and Roll half marathon in Philadelphia. So that was the first time I think I even earned a medal for that, as my first official medal in running.
Ooh.
And then I did a race that, to use one of my phrases from the podcast, something I would call runDisney adjacent, and that was I did the Hershey half marathon, because I'm about 90 minutes from Hershey Park. So the famous chocolatier, and there's a whole big amusement park there, and tours.
I went there as a child.
Yeah, lots of great hotels too, and they had a half marathon that you ran through, at least for a mile. You ran through the park, which I thought was really cool.
Did they give you free chocolate along the way?
Yes, I think it was there was a pretty massive hill, like at like a mile 11 or 12, and when you got to the top of that hill, they gave you chocolate. So that was a nice reward. But that was such a great race because we even got two free, or I shouldn't say free, part of the registration. You got 2 tickets to go into the park as well too, which was really nice. Which God, can you imagine if Disney did that? But
That's the first thing anyone asks me is, do they give you park tickets? No.
Nope. So that was the running lead up, and then the Run Disney journey started. I started researching other running avenues, and I was always curious. I'm like, well, I was a big Disney nerd, growing up as a kid. I was like, I wonder if they have races, and then I stumbled upon on YouTube, and this is why I have the utmost respect for this man. I bumped into res runs on YouTube, and I watched Gerald's videos several times, and having the chance to finally meet him a couple of years ago was a dream come true. And the fact that we had a Philly connection, we both went to Temple, that was I loved that. And I think he was probably the first person I ever subscribed to and such. So I mean, he hasn't been around for a while, but I'm really hoping that I just show up to a race weekend again, and Gerald's there with his OG GoPro and stuff like that. So it was thanks to him I learned about Run Disney, and then signed up for my first one in 2016, and the rest is history from there.
What a story.
Now I will say the crazier story, and I figure we'll might as well just segue into this right away, is the origin of Rise and Run and such. Obviously, Rise and Run starts with Bob. This was Bob's brainchild because he on his long runs, he listened to a lot of running podcasts, and he listened to a lot of Disney podcasts, but there weren't really many Run Disney podcasts. I mean, sure, back in the day you had Mickey Miles and More, and then there was another podcast called, what was it called, Let's Run Disney or something like that. Unfortunately, those are no longer around. So, he saw, a fit for it. But I met Bob at a race in suburban Philly, and there was a time when Run Disney used to sell training merchandise, and I still have the shirt, and it's one of those really nice champion shirts, by the way, and it says, "I'm training for the 2016 Wine and Dine Half Marathon." So I go to this local race, and I have to go to the bathroom, and I'm down in the locker room, and this rather tall older gentleman looks at me, and all he says to me is, "I'll see you there." And I was like, okay, cool. I'm never going to talk to this guy again. And I was running this race with one of my college roommates who's a really speedy guy. And I figured, now I'm back of the Packers. So, I'm figuring once I'm done running, my buddy's going to be waiting for me at the finish line. No, it was Bob that was waiting for me at the finish line. And
on purpose?
On purpose, yes. On purpose.
Oh, Bob.
And we chatted for a good 45 minutes after that race, and he invited me to a Facebook running group that was headed up by a mutual, not mutual friend of ours. And so I got a little bit involved in that group, and then now enter Alicia into the story. Alicia creates the Run Disney motivational team. She brings in Bob to help him organize that, and then I start getting more involved with that, and then we started doing the Zoom calls, and then the Zoom calls then blossomed even more and more, thankfully or unthankfully, thanks to COVID. And then showing up to those Zoom calls all the time were John and Lexi and Jack and Allie. And then when he came up with this idea for doing the podcast, he looked at the people who were most consistent within those calls, and people that vibed well together and stuff like that, and that's how the Brady Bunch, I guess, got formed. Now, I always like to joke with Bob that the only reason why he ever invited me is because he knew I did this, this type of work full time. So he's like, oh, I got free labor now, but obviously it was more than that. But I'm so incredibly thankful for the opportunity and the community that's created, and it brings me joy each and every single day. So yeah, if it wasn't for Run Disney champion shirts, this might have never happened.
Butterfly
Wow.
effect.
Yeah,
I know
absolutely.
a lot of people misuse that, but
Yes.
wow. Mr. Natalie's gonna love this. He's like obsessed with Bob.
Who isn't?
Bob is his spirit animal. It's who he wants to be when he grows up.
Honestly, yes. He's very fascinated by Bob. He's like, that is his like first like inclination toward Run Disney at all, is that he's like, but Bob sounds really cool. Like he's like, is Bob gonna be at the Chicago Marathon? Like, Bob lives in Florida, dude. Like maybe. I'm not gonna tell him how to live his life, but like okay. That's fine. I mean, yes, Bob's so cool that like I get it, but at the same time, I'm like, it's like, that would be cool to maybe come down and like meet Bob. I'm like, okay, thanks, Mr. Natalie.
not come encourage my wife on her run. Maybe I could meet Bob.
Listen, I get it.
Yeah.
The man has an aura. I understand it.
Let's talk behind the scenes. I don't even know where to start, to be honest. Like, because there's so much that goes into making a podcast. Maybe before we even get to editing, maybe we talk about like the importance or not importance of like equipment and such, like what's necessary to actually make a podcast sound half decent.
Mm-hmm.
That's my threshold anyways, because I'm not a professional.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of equipment, I think there's a lot of great resources out there. Like I know for Rise and Run specifically, our hosting platform, we use Buzzsprout, and they have tons of articles and YouTube videos and even podcasts about varying topics from what mic works the best, what should your settings be, length, should video be incorporated, what type of logo is best to use and such like. So there's lots of great resources out there if you just look for it. But yeah, I mean, similar to like what I see on YouTube is people will ask questions of like, oh well, I want to be a vlogger too, what can I do? And usually you'll hear like whether it's Tim Tracker or something like that, all of them say, well, just start with using your phone. Just do it and start using your phone. And when it comes to podcasting, I would, there's plenty of recording platforms, or just even use. I mean, now, granted, in my opinion, it's not the best to use, but I mean, just get a Zoom account, and most phones and computers have microphones and cameras built into them, and just use that. And then as you get rolling and want to up the production value, you can buy equipment. I mean, thankfully, for my specific setup, I always joke that I'm the only Rise and Run host that doesn't have a USB microphone, because I have, I'm working with a Shure microphone here because I record podcasts for work, and I got a Zoom recorder next to me here. So I'm getting crisp audio at 96 kilohertz with a 32-bit float rate. So even if I scream into this microphone, I'm not going to peak, and I love it. But at the same time, if I ever have to return this stuff, then sure, I'd probably go out and buy a USB microphone or something like that. But as long as they keep asking me to record voiceovers, I'll have access to this stuff. So
yeah, I'm looking at your pop filter and thinking it might be time for me to get a pop filter.
I mean, there's a hole in this pop filter, so hopefully you're not judging me too hard. But
no. Honestly, I couldn't even tell until you just said that, so no. Yeah, we were kind of talking offline beforehand. We started our first episode that we attempted to record without any equipment whatsoever. There are a multitude of reasons why that will never make it out of the archive. One of them being our sound quality was rough. Another was that we had no idea what we were doing, so it was complete nonsense, and it was almost unedible into like it was like not coherent. We hadn't learned how to like not just we didn't have equipment or anything, but like we didn't really understand what the flow should be. We didn't understand really what we wanted to talk about. We were kind of trying to introduce ourselves, but we went on tangents that were like completely unrelated and didn't know how to stop talking. There's a certain skill set you learn, but you don't learn that unless you try. Like
Correct.
there's always gonna be that first attempt that maybe doesn't turn out like how you hoped it would, but if you don't try to do it, then you're never gonna get there.
Yeah, the most difficult thing is hitting that record button. I
Mhm.
mean, probably with our crew, we had half a dozen meetings, and then we finally had the courage to hit the blinky red button. And once you get over that hump, yeah, I mean, sure, you know, like you just said, Hannah, you know, you'll take your lumps in terms of sound quality, but at the same time, you're not going to learn how to adjust and
Mhm.
find your groove until you establish a groove,
Yeah.
or you know, establish a thought process or a line of thinking. So yeah,
And you might
just
as well figure that out before you invest money.
correct, exactly. But then outside of that, then really the biggest key then is consistency. I mean, sure,
Mhm.
you know, I think it's honestly shocking that, you know, both of our podcasts were able to generate content every single week. But you know, there's I mean, sure, there's millions upon millions of podcasts out there, but a lot of them don't get past like 7 or 8 episodes, and then because they find it to be too much. And you know, it still boggles my mind that we're 200 plus episodes in now. I mean, the one that
That's
really
so cool.
shocks me is you know, look at Mike Rahman over at the Be Our Guest podcast. I mean, that guy's pumping out 4 podcasts a week for 17 years, and you know, he's over 2,500 podcasts. It's
Oh my
yeah,
goodness.
it's insane. But so yeah,
Legend.
consistency really is key.
Yeah. I remember when we texted basically between us for months beforehand. And I remember Natalie and I both are research fiends. Um, we like a plan. We like a spreadsheet. And I was reading many of those articles you talked about that give you the tips and tricks. And I read somewhere that if you couldn't record at least 5 episodes before you launched,
Mhm.
then you weren't going to be able to stick with it, or you would find out like you don't have enough ideas, or you weren't ready basically. And we had all the best intentions of doing that and didn't do that. Really, we're like, okay, we have to just like commit to we're going to do it on a certain day. We're going to have this routine. And then we haven't broke since. We haven't had a single week off.
That's great.
So,
Now,
yeah,
So proud
sometimes
of the
does
two of
that
you.
involve us recording on Monday night? Yes.
sometimes.
But hey, we
Honestly, those are sometimes the funniest ones though. When we record last minute because we know we are on a time crunch, um we do pretty well under stressful situations, but also Mr. Natalie comes up with the most outrageous ideas for those episodes.
I usually call him on my way home and I'm like, hey, so we haven't recorded yet. Like, what do you got? And he's like, have you ever considered how all the different characters would run races? I'm like, no, I haven't
Brilliant.
actually.
Look at that. You have a built-in producer. You didn't even know.
Yeah. He's our unpaid labor. We're all
There you
unpaid,
go.
but he's
Yeah.
our unpaid labor.
I mean, that's one of my favorite lines is when I have, you know, a late night of editing or something, and I'll be up in my office and my wife comes up to bed, and you know, usually I try to keep the door cracked so, you know, the hue of the computer screens isn't, you know, waking anybody up. And she'll just like poke her head in. She goes, "Just remember, you chose this life."
Fair point.
Ben definitely had similar words for me in the beginning when we were still like under time crunch, still learning what we were doing, and everything took so much longer. And I'd be up some nights on Monday night, even if we had recorded early, until like 3 in the morning because I had just like left it too late with everything going on and didn't know what I was doing. I had some frustrating evenings by myself and the cat with cat. But hey, we got there. What do you think is the hardest part about editing the podcast
Ooh.
or any like audio really?
Um. Oh wow. Getting rid of Bob's crickets is probably no. Um.
I live
He
for the
joked about
crickets.
those when he recorded with us.
Probably, sometimes it's just making those little executive decisions and hoping that if I decide to cut something, that person is not going to get upset with me. Because in theory, I'm sure I'm the editor, but I guess in a specific way, to use a term from the industry, like I almost kind of feel like I'm a bit of a line producer as well too. So I mean, like, sure, like all of us collectively, like we all produce the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
It's not one person that's saying, one person is only in charge of getting guests. Like everyone pitches ideas, and then we try to book everybody, or come up with a topic, or something funny to chat about or whatever. And I think early on, if to me, if something didn't flow right or whatever, or maybe someone was being a little long-winded on something, or we went on a tangent that led to a tangent that led to a tangent, and we never were able to circle back to it, before I would, like message our crew and be like, "Hey, is it okay if I take out this part?" And now I don't have to do that anymore, because I know the gang trusts me that I will make the best decision for the podcast. And that's always my intent when I do it too. So, I mean, now if it's something like from a fact checking standpoint, or, like the other week, I had to go in and great, I made this decision on my own, but we had made several comments about, because we record on the Tuesday, release on a Thursday, and in the span of that time when we recorded, the Springtime Surprise Challenge was still open, and we talked about, and I even was trying to wax poetic about, well, why can't they sell out this damn challenge every single year? And then Wednesday evening, as I'm editing, it sells out. So then, I mean, sure, we always like to make caveats like, well, at the time of recording, but then, my production brain is like, no.
But it would be nicer, wouldn't it?
Correct. So then I go back and I scrub through to find that timestamp, and, and then cut it out, and then try to, and this is the part that I think always impresses Bob, is if I do make one of those cuts, or I do have to adjust something, doing my best to make sure that it just sounds like one continuous thought, aka going back to The Bachelor and Love Is Blind and Frankenbiting. I'm great. Not that I'm making John say something that he didn't actually say, but at least it's more so, more so just trying to bridge that gap. So yeah,
that is probably Natalie and I's proudest moments, when we find something like that we have to cut out, and we make it sound like it never even existed.
Correct.
We text each other about it, and we're like, oh my gosh, it's beautiful.
Oh, I mean, Jack all the time, we'll talk about something, and then 10 minutes later, Jack will be like, oh, can you add this back into when we were talking about this before? I'm like, yeah, sure. No problem, Jack. Not a big deal.
Oh, yeah. Whenever I get a really good, clean, like we're on an ideal like time frame, like I like to do like my first listen of the edit, and then like, or like what I get through it, and then I try to listen on like clean ears of like, it's like I put it down for a couple days. I mean, the most ideal situation is a couple days. That's usually if we have guests who aren't as experienced podcasts, where you have to like listen for the like coughs, bumps, not or like audio like echoes and stuff like that. But when I was like, oh yeah, I did have to cut something there, I'm like, I don't even remember where it was. I'm like, oh, that is so sad. Like the hardest edits are the ones where I'm the most proud of later, even if I spend more time than I'd like to admit on them. But like a hard edit where like then it comes out, and then like I even listening to it a couple months later, I'm like, ooh, that was nice.
I mean, that's the one thing I learned in school, though, when it comes to like the post-production side of anything, especially editing, is if nobody notices anything, you're really good at your job. But if there's something egregious, then no, not so much. Now, I'm impressed that Natalie, you listen with clean ears, because unfortunately, with the schedule that we've established for ourselves, I hit export and upload and pray. Because it would add another 2 hours into my session if I had to go back and listen to it. So, but I always tried to make sure that I actually listened to the episode, within 12 hours of it being released, and then that way, if there is something super egregious, I can go back and then just make the change real quick and then re-upload, and then it gets pushed out to all the podcasting services.
Yeah. Oh yeah, let's be real. I did not. It's not every time that I clean ear it. Like when we recorded the Disneyland event guide that came out on Monday for a Tuesday drop, that I was still editing on Tuesday morning when I woke up to run. That was not a clean ears. That was a. I think I probably did good enough on this one. Post.
Another important skill: good enough, not perfection.
Which is hard.
It's funny. I was when I was editing this past week's episode. And I was chatting with Bob about something on the side, and he was like, "You need to stop talking to me. You have to edit." And I'm like, "Oh well, I can multitask. I mean, this is why you pay me the big bucks." And and those non-existent Dole Whips that he gives me all the time. And and he was like, "Have you ever thought about the fact that like at least several hundred people are relying on you for every Thursday?" And I was like, "No, Bob, I never really thought about it that way. Thanks." Because there was one time I didn't get the episode up in time, and that was I was on a business trip. I'm going to get the groans here. I was on a business trip in Hawaii, and I did not get the episode finished before I got on the airplane.
Mm-hmm.
And so I finished the episode on the airplane, and I didn't land in Dallas until like 7 a.m. And usually we release for 4 a.m., for all the crazy people that love to get up at that time to run.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember turning my phone off of airplane mode, and just there's this whole Facebook thread. "I don't see the podcast. Where's the podcast? I can't download it. What's going on?" And then here I am, like trying to rush to get this thing uploaded before I get on my connecting flight to come back to Philly. I just it's again a concept I never really thought about before.
We've had a few of those. We've had one time that we knew we were going to be a day late, but we still got it out. But we went ahead and like posted like, "Hey, life happens. We promise it'll be out."
Yeah.
And then as long as it happens like the morning ish, we give ourselves slack, because sometimes it comes out at midnight. Sometimes it comes out at 4, 5, 6. Just depends.
Sometimes I feel like almost like a deity, and I'm like, I'm gonna release it early. Like our anniversary episode, I'm like, well, wait, you just don't. I can make that decision. I'm just gonna put it out now.
Yeah.
Like, wow, I have the power to do that. That's awesome.
Yeah. How long does it take you to edit the podcast usually, Greg?
So the rule of thumb, and this just for me, just whether it's Rise and Run or it's work on an everyday basis for my full-time job, is I always put it at 1.5 to 2 times whatever the raw footage is. So if we record for 2.5 hours, then I'm probably sitting in my edit bay in my office for at least a good 4.5 to 5 hours. So
Natalie, we're doing a good job.
We're doing so good, dude.
Because what and Grant, again, this is just how my brain works and how I want the podcast to sound and such is, and Grant, this is no shade to anybody else where, like if you just, you hit, record, and then when you're done, you hit stop, and that's what you put up. If that is what works for you, great. I fully support it. I'm to the level of, I'm so nitpicky and hard on myself that if no one is talking during our podcast, I cut the audio. And so I try to eliminate as many crickets from Bob's backyard as possible. So, that does add extra time and such. And then, the other thing then too is, okay, we have one of our like internal breaks, and then it's like, okay, now I'm able to scrub through it a little bit faster. So I'm not like having to sit through, a 15-minute tangent that we had about, this bus getting lost at a Run Disney race or something like that. But it does take a sizable amount of time, and thankfully there are times where I can start early and I can have the episode done, you know just before dinner or just after dinner, and I can enjoy time watching TV on the couch with my wife. But then there's other nights where Wednesday nights I'm locked in and loaded, and I try to get out because we all have different jobs. Like, I mean, sure, I'm the editor, but then John is the one that's creating the artwork, and he needs to be able to know what our title is going to be. And of course, we're all trying to powwow about that while I'm editing, and so it is a ripple effect. And then once that graphic's made, then Alicia has to have it so she can post onto Instagram and everything like that. So it is a domino effect
Mhm.
in a way. But I think I hold such a standard for myself that I want this to sound crisp. I want this to sound professional because I want our message to be clear, because we want to help so many people, and I don't want them being distracted by somebody dropping something in the background, or or sometimes just little things like that might turn people off. And obviously I want people to hear our message, and I don't want to turn off or shun any
Mhm.
listener or potential listener.
Speaking of that, how do you balance the like realness, the like, if you cut too much dead sound, it sounds weird. If you cut if it's too clean, right?
Hmm.
It doesn't feel authentic. Like, how do you find that balance of
It
that without leaving in things where we talk about, our shaved butt cheeks, says Natalie. We did that on purpose though.
Yeah. That was an executive decision to keep.
Yeah, the one thing that I've picked up, I mean, granted, now I've been in the post production world now since with a small stint because I was one of those lucky people that graduated into the recession of 2008, so I didn't get into full fledged post production work until about 18 months after graduating. But so I've been around it for a decent amount of time, and one of the biggest things that you just naturally learn, I feel like, is pacing. There is, sure, there might be a 4-second break of awkward silence between something maybe Lexi says until something Alicia says. And to me, there's no need for that silence. I just cut out the silence, butt those clips up against one another, or find that magic millisecond or whatever where it makes sense to flow it in. But at the same time, if Bob is taught, during the, that span of his life where he was dealing with his knee replacement and his Achilles surgeries, and he's talking about a really tough time, there are times where silence is beautiful and it conveys emotion. And like, yes, we are a podcast and we want to give information to people and we want to make people laugh, but at the same time, though, one of the things that I love about being an editor is I'm the one that gets to tell the story. And sometimes having silence of someone going through a very emotional moment really can play well to the audience and really drive home that point of what that person is feeling. So, if someone's really getting emotional on the podcast or something like that, and there's silence, I'm not cutting that out and make it sound like they're just bleeding one word into the next. I'm going to leave that. So there's no steadfast hard rule about it. It's just the feel, and you can't. I feel like you really can't teach feel. It's just something you have to learn over time.
Yeah.
This is speaking to the theater kid in me, though, but or like the
Yep.
choir
Same.
kid,
Yep.
because my high school especially very like the intentional like the intentional silences, the intentional like the intentionality behind things, and that there is sometimes power to a pause
Yep.
to make your both make your point. sometimes when we then just pause and then like get like the giggles after, well, sometimes that's just funny, but just there's the power to the pause in what you do with that and kind of making it. I love the idea of like it's like you get to tell the story because I like getting able or being able to do that because
Mhm.
you make those some of those decisions of like it's funny because I like usually if it's just a Hannah and I or me recording, it's like, oh yeah, everything Hannah says is great, but like we're gonna nip what I said. We don't need to talk
Yep.
about that. I'm good. Whereas like everything Hannah said was perfect.
I feel the reverse same way. I think we all feel that way about
Of course,
ourselves,
absolutely. Yep.
which is probably like an interesting. I always think about that because you edit the podcast every week, Greg, but Natalie and I, it's not always exactly like every other week because we have lives and we base it on when we're busy and what time capacity we have. But pretty regularly, it's kind of like back and forth. And obviously, we're trying to convey the same message and keep it consistent, but we
Hmm.
each have our own like
Absolutely. Yep.
style and view and what we think would be good. And yeah, I always wonder if anyone could go back and like pick out which one did who did which what
And
who
again,
did which
like
episode.
and like I mentioned before, if people can't tell that, then the two of you are doing your jobs very, very well, and you should be commended for it.
Thank you.
It's one of the highest compliments. When we recorded with you guys, when you were like, when Bob was like, "That's remarkable that I can't tell you both split it." I was like, that and like being told by a priest that asking if I worked in radio when I read a reading during my friend's wedding. That's like the highest compliments I think I'll ever get in my life. Actually, like, do you work in radio? I'm like, and this was before that was pre-podcast. No, I just went to Catholic school long enough, and we always lived for when we got to be part of mass and we got
Yep.
to read.
Oh.
Life giving. Something Catholic Church, Chicago Pope.
The Pope.
The Pope. Yes, I haven't made a Pope joke in a while, guys. The Sox are doing less bad now too, so we're on the up and up.
Greg, do you ever wish that you were just a host or like that you didn't have the edit to all to yourself every week?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I've never really thought about that because I guess for me it's a prideful thing, and I know there were several times like when Allie was more consistent with us and such. She's like, I did a little bit of like audio engineering work, back in a previous lifetime, and she's like, so if you ever need help, but I think it's. And it's not just because it's what I do for a living. It's just like I genuinely like doing it,
Mm-hmm.
and like that's a way for me to give back to our community. Even more extent than quote unquote just being a host, because that's enough
Yeah.
work in itself.
Yes.
But I think what makes it easier and what makes our group work so well together is that once we do establish a boundary like that, we are really respectful of those boundaries, in the sense like, when Jack pitched the idea of a YouTube channel, I was like, that's great. But even though in theory with my work, even though I do more video work than I do audio work, there has not been one time where I have said, oh, Jack, I'm going to do this video. Like, you don't need to worry about it. No, you pitched the idea. That's your thing. I want you to do it. Now, if she asks for input, I'm not afraid to give it to her. We just, with episode 200, we debuted our new audio package. And so with that, Jack wanted to create a new intro for our YouTube videos, and she sent it to me first before sending it to everybody else. And she's like, what do you think? And I'm like, do you want my honest comments? And she's like, yes. So I gave her, even though it was only a 45-second video, I gave her a list of like 8 things that I thought she could, that I could adjust. And she appreciated that honesty. And and if one of my co-hosts has a comment about, the way I edit, I'm going to respectfully, take that and such. And
Mhm.
it's sometimes it is that honesty that that helps me improve as a person. Like I haven't told this story often, but there was at one point early on in the podcast where for some reason I was obsessing about what did people think about the Rise and Run podcast. And so I went on Disboards
Oh no.
Dangerous.
and I just in the search bar, because I knew they had a Run Disney forum in there, and I just searched Rise and Run podcast. And there was one comment in there that said, "Boy, the content is great, but boy, their audio engineer sucks. Their levels are just all over the place." And I was like, "Oh, that's my fault." And so I went through and I taught myself ways to help balance the audio a little bit better and such. And I mean, sure, did that comment make me feel like crap early on? Absolutely. But if it wasn't for that comment, I wouldn't learn the skill that I now imply into not only Rise and Run, but also my my everyday work as well too. So, I mean, sure, are there times when I wish I just could be sipping pina coladas on a Wednesday night? Sure, but I mean, at the same time, though, there would also be a part of me that feels like something's wrong, something's missing, because I know my place is in my office on a Wednesday night, chopping this all up so that we can hopefully inspire an amazing community week in and week out.
Natalie and I have joked before about like maybe someday, like if we have a Patreon or something, we'll be able to pay someone to do the editing. And then we're both very quickly like, yeah, but then like we wouldn't get to choose and like we wouldn't have control. Like, I don't know if we can let go.
Correct. No, I mean, it's absolutely a pride thing. And Grant, my wonderful co-hosts have learned to like, they don't need to ask anymore because they know that I enjoy it too much. So it's not like I'm holding it hostage, but from anyone whatsoever. But it's it's
Mine, no
it's my
touchy.
it's my baby of the podcast. So
It's so funny because there are certain things that I do get a little, I wouldn't say possessive over, but I think that I did every single race recap last. Because then, like, okay, so
Oh,
for the,
really?
I think springtime is the only one I might not have. No, I think I did springtime too. But I did all like, oh yeah, because I think we broke the streak with guests because at first I did every single guest one. And it was one of those things where when both of our halves of the wine and dine were exactly the same amount of time, and that was a little bit engineered because I was at like 2 hours and 12 minutes on the second part, and I'm like, oh no, I can get this down to 2:11:45 and match the other part. I can find 15 seconds of audio. It's like just little like things are when I was gone for springtime. That's when we were doing the March Madness. And I had to finish editing when I got home from springtime on Monday night. And Hannah was like, "Are you sure you don't want me to take it?" But I was like, "I've done parts 1 and 2. I'm taking part 3. Like, I have to do it." Like, I think I was mostly edited. I think I just had to do a couple like the intro, outro, stuff like that. Like it was just a little bit. But I'm like, no. I'm taking part 3. Like I've done all the other 2 parts. Like I have to, because also I don't want to. It's something where I had it like already like sectioned off too. I'm like, you have to sit and go find that like cut point. That's annoying. And like I know where it is because I already have 3 files from working in. No.
Speaking of like the technical little nitty gritty of editing, do like how do you get rid of the crickets? How do you do those things?
so thankfully I use a program from Adobe called Audition. And what it allows you to do from a very, very granular perspective is I can pull up the audio file and I can zoom in a lot. So what I'll do is I'll just find, really you only need about like 1 second of silence. And then you can just highlight that. And then I'm gonna really nerd out here. And what you do is you create a noise print within the program, and then what the program will do then, and then there's a default setting in there called noise reduction. So what it will do is it will take that noise print and it will isolate just those frequencies, and then it will eliminate those frequencies from the entire recording. So there was one time when the crickets first came out, I tried isolating a cricket and then trying to remove that sound, and it did it a little bit, but then the problem was is that the frequency of the cricket was had the same similar frequencies and also Bob's voice. So
Mm,
because I was isolating that, Bob's voice became distorted. And obviously, I'm not
mm.
looking to make Bob sound like he's part of Alvin and the Chipmunks. So so that's why I abandoned all hope on the crickets and such. But what's cool is within the audio file, sure, you have your waveform, but then there's also, I call it like the heat map, where you can see like a colorful representation of the color of the sound. And the
Mm,
one thing that I got really good at during COVID, because obviously we were, for work, we were doing all of these, virtual Zoom recordings, and I'm still shocked I'm doing so many of them to this day, even post COVID, is a lot of notes would be like, Greg, remove this email ding. Because, even though we would tell a doctor, please turn off all notifications during this recording, they would forget to turn off Outlook, and that might, or you either like a Slack ding or an Outlook ding, just still haunts me to this day. But the nice thing about it is you can actually see from a colorful representation how when that ding comes in, and then
mhm.
I can just go in and I can use a little lasso tool and I can just draw right around it, and I hit the heal button, and for the most part it magically goes away.
Natalie, I think we're in for an upgrade.
Yeah, I'm down to clown.
I've been thinking about getting the Adobe suite since I've started the Start Lanco, just for like the drawing and stuff, but you can get like the whole suite when you get their cloud subscription.
Yep.
So if our audio quality suddenly improves, then you'll know why. But you said something about not trying to make Bob sound like a chipmunk, and it made me think about, so when I do the edit, I let's give it a little bit of context. I read a lot of books, and part of the way I do that is I listen to a lot of audiobooks in my commute, during my day job, because I do a lot of computer work, so I can multitask in that way somewhat. Um, so this has led to the fact that I don't really listen to audio at a normal speed that most
Yes. Yep.
humans listen to. So when I do the edit, I listen to the edit at like 1.5, sometimes up to 2 times speed, and I understand what's happening. But I like to like send voice memos to Natalie and to our friends and be like, "Please enjoy chipmunk voice." It does make the edit pretty enjoyable.
Oh, you got that right.
Do you ever listen to the audio sped up?
No, because the weird thing, I mean, unless I just haven't tinkered with the setting much, well, like the part that I enjoy about the video editing software that I
Mm,
use is that I can hit the button several times and it will give me varying speeds, to the point where I can still audibly understand what the person is saying, but the
mhm.
default in the audition program is too fast that I feel
Oh.
like I could potentially miss something, or
Mm,
if something does need to get cut, I'd have to scrub back anyway to like
yeah.
find that particular point. So no, we usually I'm when I'm making the edit, I'm making it in real time.
Mhm.
Really, the only time I'm scrubbing through something much faster is when I know Bob says break, which obviously
Mm,
gets cut, and then I just, and again, even though it's audio, there's so much visualization to it too, because I can look at the waveform and I can get a pretty good guess in terms of when we kick back into the conversation, and then I just put my playhead there, find the sweet spot, and then cut and then move on.
so Natalie and I might be very, very good at knowing what the shape of the word looks like.
We know each other's ums really, really well, where I can just clip, bye.
We don't clip everything because it
No.
does, I think that also contributes, so you're talking earlier about like the realness of the conversation.
I agree
People
with you.
say and like,
I tell
but
people at work all the time, all ums are not created equal.
mhm.
True.
But yeah, because we record in Riverside. That's where we do it, but we don't edit in Riverside, other than for the new clips we're putting on Instagram, we kind of let them do that. But they have like magic audio and different things. But once you do that, we can't export all the individual separate audio files so that I can mute people and stuff. But it's funny because you can say like eliminate background noise, like eliminate ums and likes and stuff, but it does everything. Like it doesn't have that
Judgment.
something to tell like what the value of those words are
Correct.
and what context. So
Yep.
we just don't do it. It's not there yet. I like AI. I use AI a lot in my job. We use it for helping us wordsmith stuff and all kinds of things, but it's not ready for everything. That's
Correct.
for sure. And as my sister likes to tell me, it's terrible for the environment.
Oh man, that's like a rant.
You guys recorded all of the new audio package. You guys recorded that all yourselves, right?
So I'll give Stride Sisters some exclusive breaking news here.
Ooh.
So obviously, I had put up a post on our Facebook page, just wanting people's opinions about it, because this is the idea of a new audio package is something that I have toyed around for a year plus now.
Mm-hmm.
But I've always been afraid to do it because people fall in love with something, and when you change something that they love, I mean, hell, we're all Disney fans.
Disney people don't like change.
Correct. We don't like change. I was a little apprehensive to do that, and I mean, think like the news or the response that we got was great. I was very, very happy about that. But my favorite part of that Facebook thread was, who sings the theme song? And everyone's like, oh, I bet it's Oxen Spoon. And I'm here to tell you it's not Oxen Spoon, and it's not good for the environment. It's AI. John randomly found this musical generator thing, and he just plopped in Rise and Run podcast and made a song, and he sent it to all of us, and I was like, this is creepy good.
You know what to prompt.
Correct. And it worked out really, really well. And then so we like got like a simple subscription plan to it or whatever. And then I was like, okay, I'm like, I don't want to use the whole thing because the whole song is like a minute and a half long, and that's just, at least in my opinion, that's just way too long for an intro. So we worked on, could you make it shorter, but then we didn't like how it sound. So then, because the way that in my line of work, the way that I am embracing AI is I am okay with AI assisting me, but I don't want it fully doing my job, because I think there's something really beautiful in creativity. So I was asking John, I was like, okay, is there a way to possibly get an individualized vocal track and an instrumental track? And he's like, yeah, you can actually do that. So I was like, good, generate that for me. So then once he sent me those clips, then I was able to take that and manipulate the music and the vocals. Hence why I was still able to add in the alarm clock, because I was afraid that if I got rid of that alarm clock, that's when people were going to raise royal hell. So
it's true.
yeah. So the intro and the outro is, from at least from the vocals and the musical perspective, that is AI with some editing finessing by me. Everything else though was created by myself. So like the new race report intro, I went out, I found the monorail sound effects, I went out, I found the music, and then took the old clip of Bob saying the race report with the air horns that I put in and such, and then I mixed that all together. Now, oddly enough, once we had subscribed to this AI service, John was like, oh, here, let me type in Rise and Run podcast, race report, monorail. And it generated a really catchy song. And I was like, John, with all due respect, I'd like to take this one by myself, please. So, yeah. So again, we are using it, but at the same time, I also don't want it to dominate by any means whatsoever. And then the new segue with Riley's voice, that was just the idea popped in my head, and I asked Bob for Riley's email address from when we had him on many years ago, and I was like, "Hi, friend. I got this crazy idea, but at the same time, if you think it's dumb or contractually you're not allowed to do it or ruffle any feathers within the Run Disney community or anything like that, I don't want to jeopardize your position by any means whatsoever." And I sent that email out in the evening, and the next morning he's like, "No, happy to do it." And I had 6 different versions of him saying various things, and I picked 2 that I liked, and I paired it with some of the music that I found, and that's how that all came to be.
That's awesome.
I love every time I've heard like court or subject change ahead or change subject.
Caution runners.
I love it.
Yeah, the topic is changing or something. Yeah, I can't get it quite right. I've listened to it enough, but like, apparently not.
It's okay. There's only been a couple so far, so like, it'll be as routine as listening to Greg yawn and say 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Why did I ever think this was a good idea?
No, I love the new audio package like
Thank
so
you.
much. We listened to it, and I was in the car on my way to work listening to it that Thursday, and I immediately voice to text messaged we have a big group chat of Run Disney girlies, and said, "Has anyone listened to the podcast yet?" And they were like, "No, what?" And I'm like, go now, go fast. The intro, it's awesome.
It's like
And at that time,
when that happened, so I was like, I'll get the response back, and I was listening.
I wasn't sure at the time because it was with the like celebration of 200.
Yep.
I didn't know if it was sticking or not. If it was like a special thing just for that episode and we were going to hear it again. So then when I heard it the next week again, I was really excited.
Yeah, because the story that I kept telling people was, so here in the greater Philadelphia area, we don't have celebrities. Our celebrities are the local news people. And the ABC affiliate that's here is extremely well known. Like the other news stations cannot hold a candle to these people. They have been number one for decades, and they have a catchy theme song that was like developed back in the 70s or something like that. And when the station, I think, celebrated its 50th anniversary or something like that, they actually put out a mini documentary about the one day they changed the Action News theme song music, and literally they had to take their phones offline because of the number of people that called in to complain about what the hell happened to the Action News theme song, get it back. And it lasted for like a day or two. And so because I had that memory in my head, that's all that kept playing through my mind was, all of a sudden there's going to be the Facebook version of pitchforks and flamethrowers, and everyone's like, "Give me my damn intro back." I want to hear Greg yawn.
So this makes me feel better that it's not just Disney people or runners who like freak out like that. Like, I guess, I don't know, here in Omaha, certain weathermen, especially if there's a tornado, it's like how many times they flip up the cuff of their sleeve. It's like his sleeves are completely down. It's fine. Oh no, we see forearm. Duck and cover. NATO is coming. Like you better get in your basement. Type of deal. So that makes me feel a little better that other people are like this outside the Run Disney.
Yeah, we're just the worst though. That's all.
You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. Philly fan admits they're the worst.
No. I'm not saying Philly. I'm not saying Philly fans. I'm saying Disney fans. We are the worst. Not Eagles fans. Go Birds.
I was rooting for them last year. Don't worry. If you start talking about the Packers, though, we're gonna have a problem.
Can I go on a quick tangent about the Packers real quick?
Yeah. Yes, and Tony. Because that's we fight.
No, this actually this happened before I met the illustrious Hollywood. The only Eagles game that I've ever seen in person is actually at Lambeau Field.
Really?
And yeah, even though I have marched on Lincoln Financial Field several times, I've actually never been inside the Link for an Eagles game. Just at Lambeau. And so my wife and I go to the game, and this was it was a Thursday night football game. It was Carson Wentz's like second year in the league. I can't remember if it was the year that we went to the Super Bowl or not, but I remember going to the game, and we beat Aaron Rodgers in like the last second. It was a great game, and we're walking out of the stadium. And I got this Philly persona about me, like, if I was in this case, I'd be hooting and hollering. So I was trying to be chivalrous, to my wife and be like, stay close. I don't know what this situation is gonna be like walking out of Lambeau here. And all of a sudden, I'm on the concourse and I got smacked in the back, and I'm like, this is it. Here we go. Hunker down. And this guy turns around and he looks at me and he goes, "Oh, wasn't that a heck of a game, don't you know? Was this your first time in Lambeau?" I'm like, I am not in Philadelphia anymore.
That's the most Midwestern thing I've ever heard.
Did he bring up the wind too?
No. And what was even better was we were stuck in traffic because by the time we had planned this trip, like the closest hotel I could get was like maybe a half an hour outside of Green Bay. And so I just put on local sports radio, and it was just so bizarre to listen to because like they're ripping on like Matt Nagy or something like that. Oh, this guy's got a goal. And I'm like, but they're so polite about it.
Can hear
I
the
think the
cheese
people
curd in their voice.
the people of Green Bay may be slightly offended that you think they're Canadian, but
Okay, fair enough.
but it is very funny.
It's so funny.
My apologies to the state of
We'll-
Wisconsin.
We'll ask my sister's fiance what he feels after listening.
I'm sure I'll get a text from Tony immediately upon because I can tell whatever he's listened because I can.
Well, listen, I mean, he's part of the feedback that I get. There's actually like select members of the Rise and Run community who maybe not every single week, but like I'll get like their true plain thoughts. Like, I mean, one of our very, very first and devout listeners, Joe Graham, who God love Joe, is going to be celebrating his 80th birthday at Wine and Dine this fall. He will always send me a Facebook message to let me know, Greg, there's something wrong with the audio. I have my shocks turned up all the way and I'm still having trouble hearing something. Or I'll get a text from Tony, be like, your hot take on this was like, you need to be hotter in your takes or something like that. Maybe I won't use the phraseology that he uses, but it's so interesting that you develop friendships within this community that they're comfortable enough with you to tell you what they really feel in real time.
We refer to that as our live tweets that we receive when people like stream of consciousness message us as they're listening to the episode. Both of our mothers do it, and also a few select listeners will just be like, "Ha!"
I mean, heck, I just learned from my wife a few weeks ago. So I mean, I'm sitting here in my quote unquote podcast studio, aka my dining room table, and my wife is maybe about 30 feet from me in our family room, and she finally admitted to me that after 200 episodes, she was like, you say some really cringy things on the podcast, and I really have to hold back my laughter. I'm like, gee, thanks for telling me this now, almost 4 years later.
On the rare moment I get a Mr. Natalie listen, well, sometimes, so where our office is and like the main bedroom, he can hear the out of pocket, out of context things that I say. Oh boy. He heard the entirety of the Chafed Butt Cheeks rant. He heard, God, what's another one where he was like, what did I just hear? And he responds back to me, I think probably the episode with the mainstream marathoners and a lot of the stuff that got cut from that episode. He was like, what did I just hear you say?
Now, I'd like to transition us a little. Is there anything else you'd like to share about editing, Greg?
Not that I can think of.
No.
Sorry.
Do you have a favorite shortcut?
Ooh,
Mine is Command Shift K.
Ooh, that's a good one. I mean, I wouldn't call it a shortcut, but I think the idea of being able to there's a setting within Audition that's the auto leveler. So I won't touch unless someone's audio is like super super low. I won't touch it. And then what I'll do then at the end is once I've made all my cuts, I will go through, highlight everything, and then I'll click this auto leveler button, and then it adjusts everyone's audio track. So it's usually hitting around like -9 decibels or something like that. So that way, and again, that's the skill that I learned after that person called me out on Disboards. So that's probably the most helpful tool. But in terms of a keyboard shortcut, I programmed a special one where I think I hit control semicolon, and that will select everything to the right of my playhead. So then I can grab everything all at once in the event that there is such a sizable gap, and then I can just shift it over to make the edit, as opposed to having to go through the whole sequence, highlight everything, and then drag it over. It automatically selects it for me without hitting the Control A that would collect everything.
Nice. Natalie, do you want to take the hypotheticals?
Oh, my pleasure. All right. If you could retheme a Run Disney race to be based on a completely different piece of Disney IP, what would it be?
Oh, wow.
I'm pretty sure we already know the answer, but
I think so.
I mean, there's several avenues. I was actually just talking about this to, I mean, granted, there's a couple. I mean, I think the one that the two of you are referencing is, yes, Powerline. I would love a Goofy movie themed race. And, if there was a virtual medal that cost me $267 with that Powerline on, yes, I would spend the $267 then. But I was just having this conversation with a couple of friends. I would love, even though when they did this from the 30th anniversary of the marathon weekend, there was some song that they kept playing over and over and over that just drove me nuts by the end of Dopey. DuckTales, yes. Woo! But I would love a Disney afternoon themed race weekend. Like, get me DuckTales, get me Tailspin, Darkwing Duck, stuff themed to that. I mean,
wow.
If you made that springtime surprise, you would have no problem. It would be like every other single weekend. You would sell out everything day of.
Mm-hmm.
You know what's crazy is that kind of like almost accidentally, I feel like, but the 10K for the first Disneyland weekend back was all duck. Like every, I think, duck friend they had was out. It was insane. And like it was like an appreciation for all of the duckies. Amazing. On par theming. And I know that there's a lot that has been said about that particular race weekend, but yep. I love it. I was living, even though I didn't stop for those characters, I was living for it.
But yeah, I would love a Disney afternoon. Obviously, I would love a Goofy movie. And I mean, the other one, now I know they just did this for the Summer Virtual Challenge, of why they haven't brought it to in-person. I think if you did Disney parks related stuff, you'd just be printing money. And I would sign up for it in a heartbeat.
Is it hard? Do you think they don't do it for in person because it's hard to theme which like characters and stuff to have out if it's themed after a ride?
That's a good question. I don't know. But at the same time, though, I could make the counter argument that if you made it parks themed related, as long as you had one or two things out there that were like quasi related, that would be enough. And then you could throw anything out there that you wanted to, like, for the, take like the Springtime Surprise 10 miler. Like the fact that all I needed to know is that my first character stop was Baymax. That's all who I needed to see that weekend because I am like Baymax. I am not fast. So, Grant, do I love it when they go all in on something? Absolutely. And Grant, I would love to see more of it, but at the same time, I realize from an entertainment perspective that there's only so much that you could do. So,
for said dream weekend, what would complete it? You would have Powerline or DuckTales themed weekend, but like, where would you stay? What food would you eat? What's the dream? No money is no object.
Ooh, okay. I think for resort, I would want to stay in one of the cabins at the Wilderness Lodge.
Okay.
Because even though my DVC home resort is the Poly, and I love the Poly with all my heart, if I were to diversify my portfolio of DVC properties, I would love to get into Copper Creek, because to me, the Wilderness Lodge was one of those resorts when I visited as a kid. It was the first time ever I had like internally had said to myself, I was like, when I'm an adult, I'm going to stay here and I'm going to swim in that pool. You know, because my only ever experience was, we would go to Magic Kingdom, and then, we'd hop on the boat to go over to the hotel to see the Christmas decorations and then have dinner at Whispering Canyon or something like that. So I have a big infatuation to Wilderness Lodge. So the fact that I think those cabins are actually better than the bungalows at the Poly. I've never stayed in either, but I mean, based on photos and YouTube videos,
I was like, I've watched some tour videos.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, if expense was no thing, I would stay there. And then, what other aspects would you like me to tackle in terms of this perfect
Anything.
weekend?
Food
The world is your oyster.
experience. Yeah.
Food experiences. Oh boy. I mean, experience, doing the VIP tour. I mean, I just,
I want those plaid ears that they sell.
exactly. Well, you know what? I'll make this full circle with Mr. Natalie here. I was watching Mike and Molly the other day with their video of their VIP tour, and I'm like, yeah, that'd be pretty fun to do. So, so I would do a VIP tour guide.
Hey, if we all do it together, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
That's true.
If we
That
get
is
10
very
people.
true. And then in terms of food, I don't think that they do it anymore. And even though I was just got done waxing poetic about liking the bungalows more than, or liking the cabins more than
better.
Liking the cabins better, I would call up the Polynesian though. And there was a time where you used to be able to do Ohana room service. So I would want the Ohana room service to be delivered over to the cabins, so I could just eat noodles and pot stickers and wings from the hot tub of the cabin.
Baller.
That sounds like a dream.
That sounds awesome. Oh, I want Ohana noodles now.
Yeah. Wow. That just sounds like pure magic. My Kirkland brand of that was bringing Captain Cook's back to Shades of Green for me and Mr. Natalie, which he still talks about. And he's like, I can only imagine if it were like fresh. Like he wasn't like complaining. He was just like, if it were like, it was so good, and it would have been even better if we like ate it there.
Yeah.
Like hotter. He was like, that was so good.
I try not to broadcast it too much, but Captain Cook's best quick service on property, in my opinion. Or from a resort perspective, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, wait, what's your like other hot? That sounds like not like a hot take inbound, but kind of.
Okay. Other ones, I think second best resort quick service on property is Primo Piatto over at the Riviera. I think the food there is absolutely delicious, and even if you were staying at Caribbean Beach or Pop or Art of Animation, I mean that's what I did at Wine and Dine last year. Was I was staying at Pop, but I liked the food there so much you just hop on the Skyliner and go over there, and you have yourself a wonderful meal. And then and sticking with food, hot take, I think one of the best meals / bang for your buck that you can get is Sebastian's Bistro over at Caribbean Beach. The food there is phenomenal. It is now all you care to enjoy, similar to an Ohana or Whispering Canyon and such, and you pretty much get the exact same pineapple bread pudding that you do like over at Ohana there, and it's like half the price.
Put it on the list, Natalie.
Oh, it's on the list. It's on the list. Dang, because I always just like the hack is like you go to Kona for the bread pudding, because Kona has Ohana's bread pudding.
Oh yes. Mm-hmm.
Kona's also like a sleeper hit. See, if we give people enough of like the good like little hits, like they can't crowd like the one. They can't
Although
crowd them 'cause
apparently
you
I
won't pick
just
'em.
read an article this week that they changed the recipe to Tonga toast and it's not as crispy. But I haven't seen it with my own eyes, so we'll have to check that out.
We will, I guess, for the fans, for the listeners, I can make that sacrifice and eat Tonga toast, and I can do like like 2 samples, just just for science.
Correct. Although it's so funny that within the Polynesian community there is the debate about Tonga toast in terms of, because technically you can get it in 2 locations. You can get it, at Kona, or you can get it at Captain Cook's. The decision that you have to make, though, is it worth the extra like $9 to get the strawberry sauce at Kona Cafe, because you cannot get the strawberry sauce at Captain Cook's.
Ooh, I guess. Oh gosh, I'm gonna have to weigh in on that debate too. I got my work cut out for me.
Yes, you do.
I'd say I got to make another trip, but I also just booked one of those last week, but to the other coast. Oops. Man, I love these little like scientific debates though. Like I love like little holes in the wall, like little things like that. Like I did not participate in Ohana Noodle Gate on Twitter at the time, but I remember like I think about Ohana Noodle Gate like relatively often, more often than I should for someone who didn't participate in it. But the fact that we like as a collective fandom bullied Disney into bringing back the Ohana noodles,
Yes.
like I think about that a lot. But I love like the different little debates, like like it's of like just the little hole in the wall thing. Because I feel I explain this to Mr. Natalie all the time, where like there's like your levels with Disney, and like on our honeymoon trip, like I was like I gotta get like all like standard like bangers, okay, like California Grill. We got like a walk up to California Grill for perfect. Sci-fi, like stuff like that, where I feel like I kind of like our standard levels. Now it's like he's like, well, I didn't know this other place existed. I didn't know this other place existed. I'm like, well, I was trying. I gave first of all, I gave you menus. Secondly, like we're on our like the next level of like, oh, like now that he's seen Mike and Molly do pick like what they've actually eaten at Satuli Canteen, he's like, oh no, we have to go there. I'm like, yeah, we do. We do. Except now he's also kind of like a because he's like he thinks about Jock Lindsay's about once a week, so that's one of his favorite places. And he's like, well, we have to make sure we make time for Jock Lindsay's. I'm like, don't worry, buddy. Don't worry on our next trip. I'm like, don't worry, buddy. Wait, I wouldn't
do that to you.
wouldn't go without it. But like we're on like our like next level down of like he's like, oh, what's this Boma I hear about? Because I've never been to Boma either. I want to go so badly.
Just do it for the zebra drums.
I want to do it so badly. I will make it there sometime this year. Maybe, okay, I'm not going to commit to this year. But in the next, like, I will make it. Because that, like, beer garden's another one that I'd like to do, but it's one of those things where I haven't had like a group to do it with. And I feel like that'd be a little weird to be a solo diner. Like I could do character dining alone, like that doesn't bother me. But beer gardens, a little bit more of a shared experience, I feel like, where it would just be like, hi.
They need to have those like community tables for solo diners so you can like meet new people in that kind of environment.
Here I'm here with the family of 5 from Denver at my table, and actually I'll probably befriend them if I'm being real with you. I probably will become their like new bestie, considering like I've befriended people on my little raft. It's like Teamboat Springs at Blizzard Beach, and like I've like gone on the raft because when you're a single rider, you have to wait for a group that's it has like 3, so you could be their 4th or whatever. And I've gone down around with the same people a couple times. You're like, oh, there's Natalie again. So I probably would befriend the rest of my table mates, but you know, it's one of those things where I'm like, I feel like this would be more fun, like with like my own like group of people that I do already know. All right. What's a Disney soundtrack that you would want most as the score for one of your long runs?
Oh, this is very easy. Illuminations. Illuminations to me, it hands down is one of the greatest Disney nighttime spectaculars ever made, but not to mention from just a straight musical standpoint. Gavin Greenway's score throughout that whole piece is just beautiful. It's elegant. to go on a marching band dorkdom here, like in that the beginning opening, the fact that you're changing time signatures every measure. One of my fraternity brothers and I, we literally sat down and we listened to like the opening like minute for like 20 minutes straight, trying to figure out and then learning how to conduct it and such. It's such a beautiful piece. And I'm a huge drum and bugle corps fan, and back in 2000, the Cadets Drum and Bugle Corps, their whole show was the Epcot Millennium Celebration, and it included all the music from Illuminations, and that music just brings me so much joy. So yeah, Illuminations hands down. But second runner up, and because I do have like a crafted like Run Disney running playlist with like attraction songs, just to help me slog through the tough miles and such. And let me tell you, anytime Soarin' comes on, like that puts a little pep in your steps. So yeah, but no, Illuminations easy enough.
I gotta know, I don't remember, were you pro or anti Harmonious?
With the exception of the tacos and the Sanctum portal that sat in the middle of World Showcase Lagoon, I loved Harmonious.
Okay, you can stay 2 hours in.
The first time I watched Luminous, I was like, okay, I like the infrastructure better. That it was giving me a little bit of Illuminations vibes, sans the globe opening up that was gonna eat you, ladies. But the music of that, I feel like the music of Harmonious was quintessential Epcot. Sure, it was all Disney IP, but the fact that you're using international musical stylings in various languages to sing the same lyrics is what Epcot is about. I understand the whole concept of life and death in terms of what Luminous is, but like, why are we playing the really really sad song from Toy Story? Like, it doesn't make any sense to have Toy Story in an Epcot show. So yeah, I feel like they kind of missed the mark on that one.
Luminous has grown on me a lot because I really think that the opening, like especially the opening sequence and then the way it closes, I like some of the stuff in the middle. You lose me.
Yep.
Do love a little bit a moment for Enchanted though. Whew. Love when that comes up. But I am Harmonious when I need to lock in during tough miles of a marathon.
Yeah, I have that on my playlist
Harmonious.
as well. Yeah.
I will start to finish.
To me, if you could do the Harmonious show with the infrastructure of Luminous, then I think I think Disney would have had a much different situation on their hands if they would have just melded those two things together.
Yes. The Harmonious truthers are like few and far between. That is a hill I'll die on, because Harmonious, and again, I mean start to finish, like is what I'll play it again if I need to. So if you see me crying in Chicago, that would be why. During the like mile 23, but like that replaced used to be Fantasmic, and Fantasmic will still come up for me, but like if I need to lock in, and sometimes this is even just during a rough part of a long run when the wind is gusting at 24 miles an hour in November and it sucks out, it's Harmonious. It's Harmonious. Truthers. I just didn't get the respect it deserved. Much like my barge costume, which ended up so much funnier than it meant to be, because that was right when they took the first barge out. Like the week before is when they took the first barge out. So I was the fourth barge, and I was just meant to be a barge in general because I thought it would be funny. I was the fourth barge making one last lap around World Showcase. It was even funnier than it was meant to be. It was one of those things. It's like, why do you have that big piece of cardboard? But if you knew, you knew.
I also think, not that I want to go on a huge tangent about this, but I feel like this show would have been received a lot better if if it had the ability to move like Illuminations did, like Luminous does, the fact that you could take the stuff in and out every single night, but the fact that when they tested the fountains and you could still see all the infrastructure of everything, and then people were getting wet when the wind was blowing too hard and such, I think that's what kind of doomed it. So
Full world of color experience if you
yeah,
stand
there
too
you go.
close.
There you go.
In January, it's like, wow, I got this really good scene. Like soaked. I'm like, it's okay. I'm still happy. Oh, I love that. All right, what's a go-to snack at Disney parks wise before or after a race?
So if you split it amongst friends, it's a snack, but it's technically a meal though. Going back to Captain Cook's, the pulled pork nachos at Captain Cook's is my absolute go-to.
You are speaking to Natalie's soul right now.
I mean, I feel like every word that has come out of my mouth has just like made her so jubilant in the last 15 minutes of recording that I'm very upset if I disappoint her before we're done recording. I will have ruined the episode if I say something that she doesn't agree with.
It's okay. I developed a little tradition. Haven't actually done it in a minute though, but I used to go get my mobile order of Captain Cook's pulled pork nachos in time for Festival of Fantasy, and then I would go sit on Main Street with my pulled pork nachos that I took to go, and I would sit there and watch the parade, happy as could be. I recommend.
Yeah,
Definitely,
they're amazing. I love them.
Oh, they're so good. It's like how it's like sometimes you worry a little, and you're like I was bringing him to Mr. Natalie. I'm like, what if he doesn't have my nostalgia goggles? He's like, no, these are so good. These are so good.
All right, should we do a rapid fire round?
Yes.
All right, you ready, Greg?
Let's do it.
One word to describe race mornings.
Lethargic. I am not a morning person. I will be a morning person when I have to, like on a Run Disney race weekend, but it sucks. And I mean, it's nice having a roommate because the couple of times I've roomed with Tony, boy, he is bright-eyed and bushy-tailed at 2:00 in the morning. So
Does not surprise me.
yeah, so that's really helpful. But if it's just me by myself, boy, I'm moving slow.
Greg, I'm you. Natalie's Tony. Just so you know.
Aren't we all, Tony?
My lashes are like glued before anybody else in the room is like conscious. Like
it's true. Your favorite editing snack?
Ooh. Coke Zero.
Nice.
little bubble.
It's more so the caffeine in case it's going to be a late night.
Yeah. At my office, we have free sodas and there's unlimited Coke Zero. So it's a good time. Rope drop or late night?
Oh, yeah, late night because I'm not a morning person, but at the same time, I respect and I understand the benefits of the rope drop, though.
Hot take, maybe not, I don't know, personally think late night at Magic Kingdom is way better than rope drop. There's like people get it stays open later. Everyone's trying to duck out after the show and it's just dead. You could like run around from ride to ride to ride
Yep.
to ride to ride and get so much more done
Agreed.
than
Yep.
you can in the morning.
I mean, again, it also goes to say something about, and not just Magic Kingdom per se, but there's something unique and special, and even like an aura of a Disney park at night
Lit up.
Yeah,
I agree. Spaceship Earth or Tower of Terror?
Jack, I hope you're not listening, but I'm thinking the Phoenicians.
Close your ears.
Favorite Disney park?
Domestic or international?
Up to you.
I want to know if you're going to guess what I think you're going to say.
Tokyo Disney Sea.
I knew it.
We'll make it there someday, Natalie.
We will.
Now, granted, I have not stepped foot inside that park since 2002 when I was an exchange student, but the fact that 23 years later, I still have all of those memories and I can just remember the things that I did with my host family and the snacks that I had and the snacks that I wish I would have gotten when I was there. Like the one big thing that they love, like, I think they still have it in Tokyo Disney Sea, is the it's essentially like the bao bun sausage. And when they redid the Pacific Wharf over in DCA to San Francisco, which, hot take, is my favorite section of all of DCA, even above Cars Land. I found out that they brought or a similar type of that item over there. So when we took my daughter to Disneyland last summer for her birthday, I was like, if there's one thing, or if there's two things I'm getting this entire trip, it's the burrito tacos from San Francisco and then the little sausage bao bun thing. And I finally was able to rectify my biggest regret from the time when I was in Tokyo Disney Sea. Now, the fact that they have Fantasy Springs, I mean, you watch it on YouTube and it's majestic, and I would have to imagine it's even more phenomenal in person. So I'm desperately trying to get back over there to, most importantly, see my host family, but also be able to see the parks too.
Yeah. Most underrated Disney character.
Underrated character? Wow. I think I'm going to keep it going with what I just said about San Francisco, Baymax.
Love Baymax.
He's a lovable fellow. I can resonate with him because he's always wanting to help people, and he'll lose all of his power to help people. And again, like me, he is not fast.
I want a Baymax like Squishmallow or something. Put him over there on the
There you go.
bookcase. All right, Mickey waffles or churros?
Mickey waffles. I will say I have not had many churros, and I think that was probably one of my Disneyland regrets, was I did not have a churro when we were over there because the list was just too long. And for anyone that will tell you, oh, you can do Disneyland in 3 or 4 days, yeah, they're wrong. You probably need at least 5. So like my wife and I have like a list of all the things that we need to that we need to get that we didn't get this past trip. So, but I will say though, have either of you had the churro Mickey waffles that they either have at Crystal Palace or sometimes they have it on Disney Cruise Line?
They
Negative.
have them at Crystal Palace?
Yes. So I finally had them, and I will say they are quite delicious, but I'm not, I don't mind sweet things, but I don't like overly sweet things. And like I maxed out at like one full waffle and an ear. I couldn't do any more than that. But yes, Crystal Palace breakfast is where you can get Mickey churro waffles.
Book our brunch, Natalie.
Well, so during Wine and Dine, my younger brother is coming. I don't have a bib yet, and like he's not gonna get a bib. But like it's like planned for that time frame.
It's the energy.
Yes, that's true. I'm working on him. But we were trying to think, because it's his birthday's in September, mine's in November, and it was like, what's like a quintessential thing for him? And he immediately went Crystal Palace, because when he was really little, like that was like he would eat there without crying. So like it was like a breakfast, lunch, dinner type of thing. So we're like, okay, what's the most quintessential Mikey thing? He's like, breakfast, obviously. So
there you go. Although the hot take that I will, granted, this isn't a hot take, but my hot tip, I will say, and I learned this through my wonderful friend Rachel that I've made through Rise and Run, is you want to book a reservation at like 10:15, because then you get you're charged the breakfast price, but then at one point they shut down one side of the buffet, so one side is breakfast and then they start putting the lunch stuff out, and as long as you're still there, you're allowed to get the lunch stuff. So it's 2 meals for one for the cheaper breakfast price.
Literally brunch.
Literally brunch, yes.
Literally, like what we're some point during wine and dine.
Yeah, I've done that at Crystal Palace, and we also did that at Storytellers Cafe over in the Grand Californian in Disneyland.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I've heard that's another good one.
It's very good, yeah.
Plans now. Like I have to make plans.
I know. I'm so jealous of you when I heard you say that.
All right, hot tips. Let's do parting advice.
Parting in terms of what?
Yeah, don't you worry, Greg.
Okay.
Here, there, and everywhere. I don't know. We just had some hot tips, so
yeah. Let's start with editing, podcasting, runners, like vlogging, all that jazz. Any final tips for anyone like aspiring to maybe get their foot out there?
I would say from an editing perspective, YouTube is your friend. Whenever even though I've been doing this for almost 15 years now, I'm still always learning because I'll put out something and the coworker will be like, "Oh, this is great," and then like I look at it and I'm like, "This is mediocre," or I'll see the work of others within my team and I'm like, "God, that's really phenomenal," and like there's no way I would have the creativity or the knowledge to be able to pull it off. But then you just go to YouTube and there's plenty of people out there that have channels that do tutorials or will show you how to create this fun transition or something like that. So, and as long as it's not behind a paywall, most of the stuff on YouTube is free, so definitely utilize it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you don't need to pay for some like fancy course some influencer has made. Yep. It's all out there. What's your best advice for someone running their very first runDisney race?
Ooh.
We ask this one to everyone.
I mean, I'm sure you probably get the answer, but just soak it all in. Take your time. Don't get hyper fixated on your corral placement. I mean, I can understand trepidation if you're in the last corral or something and it's your first time. I get that. The character lines are going to be long and you got to think about the balloon ladies and such. So I understand that, but just embrace your surroundings, embrace the entertainment that is out there, and embrace the community, because especially on those highway miles where maybe there's not a lot of entertainment. Your entertainment is the community that is there around with you. You might see someone like Natalie dressed as a harmonious barge, or you chatted about her earlier in the episode. Brandy, you might see her out on the course dressed as the yellow pull tab. Mm-hmm. That will bring some people joy, and it surely brings me joy. So yeah, just don't worry about wearing headphones. Don't worry about your pace or your finish time. I heard it first from Brittany Charbonneau herself. Just PR and fun. That's the most important thing you can do.
Beautiful. Great advice. All right, where can everyone find you?
You can find me Wednesday evenings in my office editing the Rise and Run podcast. Again, as Bob likes to say, we can be found anywhere where finer podcasts are sold. So be sure to download and subscribe. And then we do have our Facebook group, Rise and Run Podcast, and then on Instagram we are at Rise and Run Pod.
Is there anything else you'd like to plug, Greg?
No, I don't got anything like that. So.
Watching reruns of Trading Spaces on TLC.
No, at one point,
please go back and find Greg in the credits.
There was a sidebar. There was one time it was like an intern job or something like that, and they told me I had to go like organize videotapes, and all of a sudden I opened this box and it was just a bunch of the Trading Spaces smocks. And I'd just started messaging everyone. I was like, if anybody wants a smock, let me know. I know where they all live.
If you enjoy listening to our show, please leave us a review and a 5-star rating. We love reading your reviews out loud, and you might even be featured on a future podcast episode. We have a community spotlight on our Instagram at Stride Sisters Podcast. If you want to be featured for a Metal Monday, Finish Line Friday, or any accomplishment you would like to celebrate, send us a picture via our social media platforms or our email. And to continue fun, join us on our Facebook page. All the ways to connect with us can be found in the show notes. Thanks for listening. Until our next adventure, we're wishing you endless smiles of magic and memories. See you next time.
Gorgeous, Natalie. Are you in radio?
Because man, you would deliver a great homily.
My friend had us audition when because like the two readers, he was like, this is so Catholic school, but like he had me read both of them and then the other friend read both of them, and he picked which reading he liked better. And I can't even make fun of that because I was like, I had one of my 3 Irish people, like actually like from Ireland, like potato Irish, like from Ireland. I was like, this is gonna be such a surprise for the reunion of Boyle and O'Malley to have Irish accent reading for our wedding. So I couldn't even judge, like, even though like I was like, Pat, shut up. I have to read I have to read some scripture. So my friend could hear it. I recorded that for him, and then he picked who read what.
Nice.
From that.
Okay, so Greg, this is the order. Me, you, Natalie,
Okay.
and then we're just really quiet.
You got it.
Ready, everyone? Sushi would like to say hi.
Hello.
She likes to make a debut at least once per episode.
I saw that.
Say hi, Sush. Meow. Can you hear her purring?
Yes.
Secret sound. Secret sound.
Okay. Now you have to. I can't. She won't let go of the mic. Sushi.
Quite literally taking the mic. I
Sushi,
love
stop.
it.
Hi, baby. Okay, I'm gonna stop recording now.